me, Zahar, how would you think about Telegram versus Twitter as a sort of as a news feed, right? So I'm, I'm one of the original kind of Twitterati, joined the platform, I think over a decade ago or something like that, when it was still chronological and you open Twitter to get an update on what's happening on a specific area. Is that what Telegram is nowadays? Is that sort of one way to think about it?
I think Telegram nowadays is a bit different due to the fact that it's a messenger, right? And due to the fact that it's kind of still, people don't let it to be a news-only platform for them. So I think the level of entry here is a bit higher. If you want to like grow to the level of being read on a regular basis, it's much harder to fight for this audience, because you don't have a kind of the single space where people can explore different channels, right? I probably should have gone a bit deeper into that, but in Telegram, you just have like the feed and you have a search, but you don't have a space, and like in Twitter, where you can go to explore and find a lot of stuff. So that's why it's much harder to build up the audience in this platform, I think. And but once you did it, you're golden, because people will open it. Well, unless you post like 100 times per day with some like unfunny memes. But in general, yeah.
So in Telegram, the algorithm will not save you. You have to do the quality control yourself.
Yeah, and that's the side. Like in TikTok, the bright side of it is that if you have a good content, but you don't have the following base, you can still go very quickly up to the millions. In Telegram, this will not happen. So you need to fight for your audience as much as you can.
Yeah. Kevin, I see you raise your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I used to work at Bloomberg, and I was actually part of the team that created the WhatsApp service in 2017 or 2018, and managed to get to a pretty big number of followers on there before then WhatsApp changed its mind, and I'd left Bloomberg by then. But it's just very interesting the way that they, I think they were in a good place to just transfer what they've been doing on WhatsApp over to Telegram. The process was exactly the same, but then obviously they had to build a whole new audience, and that has taken that takes skills and time. But it's just very interesting when you mentioned Bloomberg on Telegram. My brain remembered back about 3 years when I used to do 3 markets updates a day on Bloomberg WhatsApp.
Yeah, but that's interesting that you shared this. I think that Bloomberg here is acting very innovatively, in a way that they are going for these platforms from the perspective of a legacy media that is often like, not. And I am interested in your opinion here, right? Whether The Economist is planning to launch its Telegram. But I think, yeah, that I think they are doing a good job.
I think it's interesting because Bloomberg is trying to get people to pay subscriptions as well. Either you have the huge subscription, which is about $30,000 a year for a Bloomberg terminal, or you pay by the month for the website and digital access. And at some point, you will hit a paywall. When you click on a certain number of articles. So again, I can't speak for Bloomberg about Telegram, but it's interesting if they're putting 3 links in every message, because they're clearly trying to drive traffic back to the website. And whether they manage to do that, you can't put too much information in, otherwise people will feel they've read everything. It's like a newsletter, isn't it? You don't need to click. But yeah, it's just interesting. And as for Telegram, it's not on our plan. It's not our plan at the moment. But again, who knows? Never say never.
There is sort of something certainly very well. When I think about Twitter, Telegram, it's sort of very associated with revolutions, sort of breaking news, fast pace, which having gone through. Actually, now that I think about it, in the region already, a couple of them. Ukraine in 2014, Belarus. Hungary's been exciting at times, and so has Poland. And sort of, when you get these fast-paced sort of political news, that's sort of when I feel like Telegram comes off very naturally as a micro-blogging platform. If you're taking a longer view and sort of more analytical I guess maybe it's not, it's less of a natural fit. And then I guess the Revolution model moves very easily into a finance world, right? Where also things can be very fast paced, and you need the breaking kind of.
I think you also have to bear in mind, though, that not everybody will want another app. I mean, I think I'm older than all of you probably put together, and I struggle to keep up with all the different. I don't sound like an old man, but you know what I mean. It's just another thing to sign up. And if you are in a country where security is important, and clearly there are some nations that we've been talking about where Telegram has become very, very popular for very good reasons. But if you're just talking about everyday conversation, I would think most people are happy to stick to one or two places. And the idea that you'd have one friend asking you one thing on Telegram, another friend asking you on WhatsApp, another one on Facebook, another one on iMessage or whatever. If you're just after everyday conversation, I think that's there are a lot of chat apps now, and we all know about the value of them, but the way that they whether they can saturate the market in the same way that Facebook and Instagram have, I'm not entirely sure.
Fantastic. One more, Maria, you have a...
Yeah. There is some small thing I want to add here. I think because of Telegram's intimate thing, it's personalized communication. It's harder for audience to say goodbye to like any other channel. If you put Telegram in comparison to Facebook or Twitter, I think for audience it's a bit harder to leave your channel. But the other thing I want to ask maybe Zahar, maybe you will put a light on this topic. We are all waiting for Telegram advertising thing, and we all don't know how this will affect on the gaining of our audience. Maybe you have some insights or expectations about this process.
Mm-hmm. But before I jump to this, I would like to add that saying goodbye, in Facebook and Instagram, algorithm will say goodbye if you interact with that content. And Telegram, you need to do it yourself. And I think that's kind of the big difference here, is that you need to make a conscious decision. And that's the difference. Speaking of monetization, I don't have insights, unfortunately. Telegram is very kind of secret company, and due to a lot of good reasons. But so the idea is that they are planning to launch some kind of a monetization platform, like in Facebook or Instagram does. I honestly don't know how it's going to affect the platform, but I think it's definitely going to affect the price of advertisement. Right now, it's very shady and gray. Basically, people write into each other and sending money through transfers. I think this will bring this platform to a better transparency, and will help business getting and kind of a big business with big contracts getting into this platform and buy kind of big bulks of advertisement. But at the same time, I think the price will rise because Telegram will take this cut, government will take its cut due to taxation and so on. So it's an interesting moment of this platform. It's kind of big, but it's still very like a Wild West, very unregulated.
So right now Telegram, for those who it's mostly monetized through sponsorships and things like that, which are kept off of the outside of the platform itself. Very well. Maybe if I can just sort of go one time around the room, and then we can slowly head out. I just wanted to ask a question about, to what extent is it a how much effort should you be putting in social media into thinking about it as a branding tool, as a marketing tool versus a distribution tool? And if you have any thoughts on that, I understand it might be a huge question to sort of finish off the day, but sort of would be really keen to hear your thoughts about that, given that you've had this sort of strategic perspective on social media, for media,
Yeah,
for a
I
while.
maybe I will be here briefly. I think that's social media that's know more about distribution content and know more about the amount of content. It's more about quality and brand perception. Yeah, and your audience will like you more if you will post like one post in a week, but it will be super quality, super beautiful, and so on, instead of 20 different posts with different pictures. So something like that.
Mhm.
I heard an interesting story from Australia 2 weeks ago when Facebook obviously stopped promoting news publishers, that downloads of the app of the ABC, the public broadcaster that's like the BBC, suddenly increased by 20% or so. And that was because people were seeking news that they trusted, and they were going directly to the source. So I think we love social media because that is the gateway to all of our content, but we should also remember that if you rely too much on social media, it can hugely affect your business. We can probably all remember the pivot to Facebook Live in 2015, 2016 that lasted about a year, and then Facebook stopped paying people, and suddenly these media organizations that had employed 3 people to work on Facebook Live suddenly had to move them on to videos, and then Facebook changed the way it favored its videos, and so people's livelihoods are kind of affected. And I think therefore that brands are always more important, and we want The Economist to be here for another 200 years. But social media are very important to tell people that we exist in the first place. And even now, we used to have people selling subscriptions to The Economist at railway stations in London, and special campaigns. Well, nobody's in railway stations anymore. Nobody is. Very few people are getting their hands on free copies of The Economist. So when they're on their phones, this is where the future is.
Fantastic. Zahar, any parting thoughts to add?
Well, and I completely agree with guys. I think that branding here is important. In case of Telegram, it really depends. If you don't have access to internet, it's really the distribution platform.
Mhm.
But I think that keeping your kind of eggs in different baskets is important. Not rely on one social media too much, like it was with Facebook back in the days. I think now we have this lesson, and no one is doing this.
Mm.
But yeah, in general, I enjoy what's happening with the social media. I read an interesting article today about from I think Casey Newton about how social media got competitive again, with those new guys appearing like Clubhouse, TikTok, and big guys are copying them, not buying them. This is the difference. So it's interesting how all this lead and affects news media.
Mm-hmm. Certainly a lot of exciting and vibrant times still ahead. We've reached the end of our time, unfortunately, but thank you so much for a riveting discussion, Zahar, Kevin, Maria.